Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs weekly news roundup for the week of May 14th, 2021. Tonight, we will be talking about the first developer update from the new lead director of Overwatch 2. We'll also be talking about the supposed reboots of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio Future, our title story for tonight. And of course, we will be talking about Intel's efforts to introduce machine learning into GTA 5. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Again, it is May 14th, 2021. We're going to roll our intro and get things started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPC's weekly news roundup for the week of November 20th, 2020. It is Friday. It is, where's my date? It's September 18th. 2020 here to our first story, and this is actually breaking news for all of us right now here too. Figured this is a kind of a big one to cover, of course, with who it is. Joined via Discord by Kyle because we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and of course everything is all kinds of crazy. So this thing is a chocker. I mean,
yeah, it's a beast.
It's huge. Doing that we had the Resident Evil stuff, that they were successful with Castlevania. Welcome to another NPC's weekly news roundup. And it's the news time. I am joined, of course, by Kyle via Discord. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Man. Okay, there we go. We're all here. We're all happy. We're all healthy, I think. I don't know. I think, Kyle, drinking these kickstarts is probably gonna be the death of me, and I'm sure your vape will probably end up taking you out here at some point. So,
oh jeez, yeah. That are the rock stars.
That are the rock stars. But man, something's gonna take us out here, one way or another.
Right.
But we know for sure it's definitely not gonna be the news. So yeah, welcome everybody. It is May 14th, and we do have some fun things to talk about. So, you know what? Let's just hop right into it. Kyle's gonna actually start us off tonight here, talking about the very first update from the new director of Overwatch and what's going on there with Overwatch 2. Kyle, take it away, dude. What's going on?
Blizzard Entertainment will reveal new details about Overwatch 2, focusing on the sequel's player versus player mode in an upcoming live stream. Game director Aaron Keller, who replaces outgoing director Jeff Kaplan, will offer a first look at PvP changes coming to Overwatch 2 during the 2-hour presentation. From new maps to major gameplay updates, we're revigorating the core Overwatch experience, Blizzard said in a new release. The stream will air Thursday, May 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Time and 12 p.m. Pacific Time on Twitch and YouTube, and will feature an appearance from Overwatch lead hero designer Jeff Goodman and associate art director Dion Rogers. Joining the Overwatch dev team are Overwatch League commentators Matt Mr. X Morello and Mitch Uber Leslie, as well as Overwatch content creator Stylos and Cupcake. Blizzard will also host a development-focused AMA on Reddit celebrating 5 years of Overwatch on May 24th.
So, okay. So now we've officially got a word from the new director, and it was a quick one. I mean, that developer update is, I got the timestamp right here, 1 minute, 37 seconds is all that is. What I find great, at least, though, is that we're only actually a week away. I mean, you're talking, what is today? Today's the 14th. So, yeah, literally next Thursday, we're going to have brand new information, and then there's going to be the AMA on Reddit a few days after, which is going to be really cool to at least pose some questions. So if you're on Reddit, go and get your questions ready to drop over there on the Overwatch subreddit. But I kind of am curious to see what they're going to be showing off because, of course, it seems to be first look at, it's just PvP, which is the base level part of Overwatch. I wonder what is going to be different about that. What do you think? I mean, what's your guess based on what they've shown off so far for what's new in Overwatch 2?
I don't know really what to expect. I mean, I want to see more about like the push mode. I want to see more about the new modes that they're introducing personally, but I don't know. It's such a short update, but I don't know. I'll probably have to catch a recording of the stream definitely.
Okay. Well, I'm curious because it's like they're offering it's a look at PvP changes, and you would
Right.
think you wouldn't want to really alienate the core player base of Overwatch anyway, which I mean that's quite honestly all the game has been, save for the seasonal events and the stuff that's been created in their custom map area that people have been building since that was released, and then of course deathmatch and stuff. But in reality, in the grand scheme of PvP, it seems like a formula that's worked so well. It's something that they really shouldn't adjust unless they've had enough feedback to make it better. So, my initial take on probably one of the things they might talk about is that you will actually have class building based on the character that you're going to end up playing as. So you might have a Lucio build that you might be able to play with. It may not be as fine-tuned as the Lucio that you would play as in the campaign version or any of the other parts of Overwatch 2. But in PvP, you might have something you can actually build up. So you might have a different ult you can throw on. You might be able
I didn't
to
even think about
increase your
that,
healing.
yeah.
So you can actually have your own builds, but they may not be as fundamentally out there. And then I think in my mind, of course, with Overwatch League, I think where that nets some cool stuff in Overwatch League is that might actually get them to step back on some things where, if you remember with Overwatch League, they did the role locking, the 2-2-2 role locking, so you could only have 2 damage, 2 tank, 2 healer / support. What I would almost expect them to do is that if they allowed custom kit builds and you had the Overwatch League teams actually figuring out what their strengths are, all working together, you could get rid of role locking most likely and have all these different customized characters for your team to play as. So I think we're going to see is probably going to end up being some sort of character loadout.
Well, and they did say new maps as well during the update on the 20th. So I imagine we'll see some of the newer ones that were just locations on the map in like previous videos.
Well, what have they said so far for maps? Because I know they talked about one last year. Let's see, Overwatch 2 maps. Let's see. They did it during BlizzCon line. So we got Toronto, Rio de Janeiro, Monte Carlo, Gothenburg, Rome, New York, and then of course there's rumors that we've got Bangkok or India and Poland as 2 others here. And this is from GameRant.com where they actually have the full list. So we've already got a pretty good gamut of maps to look forward to already, in addition to the ones we already know.
Right.
So I don't know what it might be then. Maybe expanding more on those maps that they've already talked about, or maybe they are going to talk about new ones. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Maybe we'll see some of the changes they plan on making on the current maps as well.
That's true.
That could be a possibility. So
that's true because in BlizzCon line they did talk about an area of King's Row that you couldn't get to, like there was a gate or a door or something there that you could see, but you could never get over to that area, and so they would be expanding by allowing that door to be opened and moving the game that way, or moving whatever it is you're doing that way too. So that's possible. We could see more details on what they're changing on existing maps too. So you're very much on point with that as well. But yeah, next week, May 20th, 3 p.m. So for us, of course, that's 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And then on the 24th, they're also doing their AMA. So cool stuff. Yeah, let's carry on then to our next story here on the list tonight. And that is actually talking about a supposed leak of a new Fallout game. This story comes to us from comicbook.com. Did Xbox just leak a new Fallout game? Some Fallout fans think Xbox has just leaked a new game in the series. It's been 3 years since the release of Fallout 76 and 6 years since Fallout 4, the last mainline installment. 7 years separated Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, but in between those 2 releases, Fallout New Vegas released. If history is any indication, there should be a new Fallout game releasing soon, yet we know Bethesda Game Studios is hard at work on Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6, both of which will keep them busy for years to come. If the next Fallout game is coming from Bethesda Game Studios, it will probably be years and years away. But maybe the next installment won't come from Bethesda, Bethesda is now owned by Xbox, which owns both Obsidian, the makers of Fallout New Vegas, and In Exile Entertainment, which consists of developers that used to work on the series as well. That said, what ignited this speculation? Well, during a recent interview, Xbox's head of gaming services, Ben Decker, seemed to possibly mention a new Fallout game. In the interview, Decker talks about the Xbox Game Pass and how 55% of users surveyed said the main reason they joined the subscription is the new games at release. According to this, Decker noted Microsoft has 23 studios across both Xbox and Bethesda working Halo, Forza, Fallout, and new IP. Let's see here. So 55, let's see, his quote directly says 55% of those surveyed said the main reason that they joined is to get new games at release, that day one content. That's why we made the investment that we have. We have 23 studios across Xbox and Bethesda working on Halo, Forza, Fallout, and new IP that we haven't even talked about yet that's going to blow your mind. We can deliver all that into Game Pass on day one. Speaking about new releases, new IP in Halo and Forza, which have new entries in development, Decker mentions Fallout. Decker seems to be talking about new games, so why is Fallout brought up? Well, there are only 3 explanations, and this is, again, according to comicbook.com. Decker is talking about Fallout 76, he misspoke, or a new Fallout game is in development. So, it's a lot of really, like, reading in between the lines then on what Ben Decker had said, is that another Fallout game could be coming this way. And I don't actually think it's going to be a new game. I think they've put enough time and effort into Fallout 76 that I think it's just going to be a continuation of 76, if there is anything.
I would hope not. I would like a real numbered entry into the series. I mean, there's
nice.
so much that they could do with the series. And when you really think about it, so much of the game is stuck to the East Coast.
That's very true.
I mean, other than
That's
New Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I mean, there's so many other areas that would be really cool to see what they've imagined for the world after a post-nuclear apocalypse.
Yeah, let's see, because we've had California and Nevada, we've had we've had Washington D.C., we've had the Appalachians or Appalachia, we've had. I don't remember where the other Fallouts the original Fallouts took place, but I'm sure they were pretty close to the Capital Wasteland, though, if I remember right. I think they were somewhere there along the east as well. But then even the DLC for New Vegas, or not New Vegas, but Fallout 3 had us go to Alaska. New Vegas, of course, took us to the moon. Yeah, there was quite a bit, actually. So there's a whole chunk of the middle of the United States that we haven't seen. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. We haven't been really anywhere else in the world. What's the UK look like? What's Europe look like? What's Africa look like? Mm-hmm. What's the middle of Asia look like? How are the Russians handling it? The Chinese are the one that dropped the nukes in the Fallout storyline. So it's what does China look like? You're absolutely right. There is definitely way more to expand on instead of just being in the United States. I just wouldn't know exactly where they'd go. I would like to see the China side of it, I think, because China were the initial aggressors in there, or they were the other aggressors, saying as how, of course, we launched nukes in that game too. But I think China would probably be the best choice, I think, to actually expand on.
I don't know. Even if they did, a branch off of the Fallout series where you even played as someone from the Brotherhood of Steel, I think it would be cool,
That would actually be kind of neat to see what Australia and New Zealand and that looks like, especially if you were on the south
New Zealand being Brotherhood of Steel, that'd be cool.
Yeah, imagine southeast coast of Australia and being able to get out there to New Zealand and being able to say sailing becomes something between the two. You actually end up taking Fallout 4's mechanic of building stuff and then actually being able to build boats, and there's some sort of weird sea warfare that you have to deal with in post-apocalyptic world. And at the same time, exactly, you're right, going over to New Zealand, imagine the New Zealanders, imagine a troop of New Zealanders in Brotherhood of Steel armor doing a haka. Scare the shit
Right?
out of me. Scare the hell out of me. And see, it's funny that you say that because Alex on Facebook even said, "What's Australia look like? Is Mad Max around?" And I imagine that if it did take place in Australia, there probably would be a bunch of references to Mad Max. I'm almost positive there would be. So look at that. Great minds think alike. Good job. Good job, guys.
Right?
Yeah. But again, it's the story really is like really picking and choosing a lot of the stuff. I'm more inclined to believe that it was probably just picking all the different IP that were there, unless, if something is coming down the line for Fallout. I guess the question is when, especially because we haven't seen Elder Scrolls 6 yet. We've got the new IP as well there too. What was it that I'm trying to remember what it was? What's the one they're working on?
Oh man, I don't even.
They just said it on here in the story too. I'm trying to find it. Starfield. So you've got two of those being worked on in Bethesda's domain. Bringing in Obsidian would be nice, because the last thing that Obsidian did, at least as of recent memory, was what is it? Overgrown. It's like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids game where you're wandering around like a backyard and yeah, that's I might have the name of the game wrong, but I think with a lot of stuff going on there, I think maybe if anything does get picked up, Obsidian could probably make it. But we do have a bunch of Xbox stuff coming out here soon. It is the 20th anniversary of the Xbox and 20th anniversary of Halo, so maybe there will be something as a part of that 20th anniversary too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of anniversary stuff and kind of looking out here to the past, it's time for us to do the exact same thing here too. And Kyle's going to talk about this because I'm sure he's just as amped about this as probably everybody else out there too. I can tell you for a fact, I am. And this is actually our title story for tonight. So Kyle, talk to us about this story here from IGN and a couple things Sega's going to be potentially rebooting.
A financial result presentation has revealed that Sega is considering reboots of Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, and other dormant IPs, while it begins work on a super game. As a result, presentation to mark the end of the fiscal year was published to the Sega Sammy Investor Relations website today. The slideshow includes a number of interesting details about the company's future plans. One slide concerns the utilization of IP assets, noting which IPs are active and dormant and how Sega plans to remaster, remake, or reboot its older series to capitalize on the globally recognized IPs it has in its vault. A number of old fan favorite franchises are mentioned in the past IP group section, including Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Knights, Space Channel 5, Panzer Dragoon, and Rez. At the very least, the suggestion that the company is interested in bringing some of these games back to the market while strengthening its active IPs, such as Yakuza and Persona and Sonic. And then they do have the diagram as well. The presentation also mentioned Sega's 5-year plan to release what it calls a super game. While unclear exactly what the term implies, Sega says it's making focused investment in the project and aims to have it released by its 2026 fiscal year, as well as turning its existing and active IPs into global brands. The company wants to create a new IP which can be expanded globally, but which it doesn't expect to be immediately highly profitable. No details were given on which of Sega Studios would produce the game, nor what kind of game it would be. As Sega works towards its super game, it also mentions the development of a new FPS title at the European studio, which could well be the ambitious multiplayer sci-fi shooter Creative Assembly is working on. Sega expanded Creative Assembly back in 2017, acquiring Crytek Black Sea and adding it to its ranks as Creative Assembly Sophia.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, finally, Sega,
Yeah.
congrats to you for figuring it out. The fact that you actually recognize this without going and releasing a Dreamcast Mini or something like that, to placate the Sega fans, there's that way. And then there's also this way by saying you're recognizing the strength of your like back catalog. That doesn't have to be Sonic. That's a key
But
thing.
at the same time, I look at that their examples of past IPs, including dormant IPs. Streets of Rage. That's not necessarily a past IP or dormant IP. We just had that new Streets of Rage game, and it did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see them running with that, carrying on. Doing another side scroller beat 'em up Streets of Rage game because it did so well.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have other games on here like Knights. Um,
It's not one I'm
we just
familiar
had
with.
okay, Nights into Dreams was, I want to say, originally a Sega Saturn game. And it did re-release on the 360, as
Okay.
well as in some packs of, Sega Gems packs or whatever for like the GameCube and PS2. But its spiritual successor slash predecessor is Balan Wonderland. So I don't know if you're familiar with the kind of shit show that one turned into, but it's a one button game. It's gotten a lot of flack for being as easy as it is.
Okay.
Now,
Hmm.
it's got a really neat imagined story, but I don't know, it's portrayed in such a way that it's just so out there. It's so
Mm-hmm.
hard to follow. But I don't know.
Okay.
I do see other series that I would like to see, and I've heard that they do have other games in the work as well, like House of the Dead. You know.
Yeah, especially because like you look at House of the Dead as an example, and you look at the success of VR. I
Hmm.
mean, we just recently talked about in the Open Critic News podcast this week. We talked about the new PlayStation VR and the haptic feedback stuff that we're going to be seeing in there.
Hmm.
The foveated rendering with the eye tracking as well. House of the Dead is a rail shooter, but you couple that with VR, and I'm not saying just make it like PlayStation exclusive, but maybe start there and or at least as a timed exclusive, work your way up. That would be a great place for it. Instead of it being
Hmm.
something on a controller or buying like a new age gun con or something, get yourself work on it as VR. And I think that'd be a very excellent selling point besides bringing it
Oh
back to
yeah.
the arcade. That I think would be a good spot for it. And then of course looking at Crazy Taxi, it was a big arcade game as well too. And of course arcades are really
Hmm.
coming back on their own even outside of the pandemic prior to it. Excuse
Well,
me.
even outside
It's
that, I mean, it's made its way into other games.
mhm.
And Crazy Taxi was a huge hit on the Dreamcast, even for being an arcade game. It had a few different levels. It was a game that you could pop in, and you could play like 5 or 6 rounds and still,
Mhm.
enjoy your time with it.
Yeah. Exactly. You're not wrong. And it's the same way for some of these other ones too. Space
Hmm.
Channel 5, Virtua Fighter, Altered Beast, Shinobi. I'm just kind of looking at their slide here again. But they're
Altered Beast, they haven't really done anything since the Master System generation. I mean, they've released the same game over and over again to no success, in my opinion. I
right,
mean, it
but
was good on the arcade, but
the
eh.
success though where it could actually come back as a something that is remastered instead of being like exactly like you said, like
Hmm.
just a cut and paste. That might actually be another thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be that game. They could do something completely different with the IP as well. I mean, they own
Right.
the stuff. They just need to put the money forward and say, this is what we want to do. I'm just
That being
glad that
said, oh, go ahead.
I'm just glad that Sega's finally seeing a lot of this instead of just relying on their core stuff, which their slide went on to list Fantasy Star, Sonic, Total War, Football Manager, Yakuza, Persona, and then the rest of the Megami Tensei series. It's just it's good that they are finally recognizing it, especially for the fact that it's like Nintendo's really bad at that too. Like,
Hmm.
look at how long it took for us to see anything, like for Super Mario Sunshine and Galaxy to really make their way back into anything. And now we had it as a collector's release that now you can't buy anymore.
Right.
Nintendo's notorious for that, but people still soak up the games. Sega's got such a good back catalog that for them to be sitting on it for as long as they have is, it's been a problem. And I think they could actually make some really good stuff if they really look deep into that catalog and say what worked, what didn't, and what can we throw out there to make a shit ton of money on.
Well, and the other thing that I'm looking at the catalog, and I'm thinking that some of the games that they list as dormant, like it hasn't been terribly long since they've had a game. I'm pretty sure Space Channel 5 has a VR game, I think. That was like PS3, I think, PS4, that generation. Panzer Dragoon, they had Crimson Dragon, that was the spiritual successor. It didn't do great. I enjoyed it. Then we talked about Knights and Balan Wonderland. Shinobi had another remake that was actually pretty good. It was like a Metroidvania on the Xbox One and PS4. Virtua Fighter, I don't know where that ever went. Same, pretty much the rest of the list is that same way. I mean, we did have that Streets of Rage, like I said, but the ones that are truly ripe for the picking, that need the revitalization, has got to be Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi, man.
Absolutely. I think that for the comic book cell shaded type style that both of those games have, and what we've seen with the success of games like Borderlands, where they really emphasize that style, I think seeing that come back would be just awesome.
Well, any of the anime style games, really, because a
very
lot
true,
of them
yeah.
have started using that cell shaded to emulate
that's
the
very true.
anime style. So
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, you could do something like that. I think what would be very helpful, or at least very unique to actually see, is that if they needed to do some sort of placeholder thing, figure out how to upscale the original Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future, upscale those, get those up to at least 2K, and 2K 60 frames per second, maybe a little higher than that, and then release those, and then boom, come out with a brand new game in that IP. And you'd sell
you sold
billions.
me.
See?
You sold me.
Yeah, see? Perfect. I'm glad I could do that for you then. But at least it's good, though, again, that Sega's recognizing that they can do that. They don't have to come up with anything like super crazy new. It's like they've got stuff they can rely on.
Right.
I mean, as long as they're not going to be trying to come out and release a new console anytime soon, I don't think that's going to hold over very well.
Well, unless they do a Dreamcast Mini, that would be pretty sick.
Okay, that's the only one I'll give you. I think anything else would definitely be a long shot. Maybe Sega would go straight VR or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, moving into the world of the now, of course, let's go ahead and take a step forward here in time to another article from IGN. And this is talking about the PlayStation. PlayStation working on 25 PS5 games, half are new franchises. PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst said that they have more than 25 PlayStation 5 games in development, half of which are new IP. As reported by Wired, Hulst said PlayStation Studios, which is comprised of development studios like Hulst's old stomping grounds Guerrilla Games, Naughty Dog, Insomniac Games, and more, has more than 25 titles in development for the PlayStation 5. Half of these 25 games are said to be new franchises. This doesn't necessarily mean that there are 25 first-party games in the works at PlayStation Studios. Games like Sackboy, A Big Adventure, and Returnal were both published under the PlayStation Studios banner, but they are developed by studios not owned by Sony, Sumo Digital, and Housemarque in this instance, respectively. This is exciting news nonetheless for anyone wondering what Sony is up to beyond Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which is set to release next month. Some other titles have been revealed, such as Guerrilla's Horizon Forbidden West, supposedly coming out this year, or even Sony Santa Monica's God of War Ragnarok, which hasn't been discussed at all really since its reveal last year. It's also known that Polyphony Digital is working on Gran Turismo 7, although that title was delayed to next year. Beyond these three titles, what the rest of PlayStation Studios is up to is anybody's guess. Insomniac is likely working on a full-price sequel to Spider-Man, and Naughty Dog is reportedly chipping away at a remake of The Last of Us and a multiplayer game set in the world of Last of Us as well. But there are still many other studios working on projects unknown. In time, we'll learn what each studio is working on, but for now, all we know is that PlayStation Studios has more than 25 games in development and that half of them would be new IP, courtesy of Holst. So, Sony's busy. I mean, I don't know what else to really say about it. Yeah. I mean,
there's some busy boys.
The sky's the limit on anything. I don't really know what there is to say about this stuff with Sony. I mean, we already know stuff that's coming down the line with, Ratchet and Clank is coming out here soon. I mean, if Guerrilla is working on a new title, it'd be kind of neat to see them. Oh my God, why am I blanking on the name now? It was just right there. Oh my God, I got to look it up now. Damn it. Oh crap. Hold on. Killzone. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot the name of it. I just wonder.
I forgot that they did those.
Yeah, it's like it was right there on the tip of my tongue, and I just couldn't say it until I actually had to look at it. It would be neat to see a Killzone, because we haven't seen one for a while now, at least. And I think if Guerrilla would do that, that'd be cool.
I would like to see an Infamous.
Ooh, good pick. Yeah. Damn, that would be looking really sick.
I
especially
mean, you think about it, with the PS4, they put out Second Son, and it was I don't know. I felt like it was a mild hit. Not nearly as big as 1 and 2, but
right.
Just with all the next gen graphics and stuff, think about this. Just the visuals they could put on screen for that game.
Yeah, think about ray tracing with Cole McGrath and some lightning.
Ooh.
Yeah, you especially get the way that lightning would reflect off, and I think that would be a big thing. God, I'm trying to think of some other stuff there on the PlayStation side. I mean, we've had a new Crash already recently. We've got Ratchet and Clank. I would really like to see.
There's a possibility that Bluepoint might be producing a Metal Gear remake.
There was talk about that too, that we might actually see an original Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 make their way out as well, which would be really sick. Especially because I think David Hayter had said something about doing some voice lines as well, but that's been not really confirmed yet anyway either. Man, it'd be so cool to see some of that stuff come out, but I just don't know when or if it would happen in the first place.
Yeah, I'd like to see some original PS1 games too come back and make new IPs. Give me a Bloody Roar. Give me an Omega Boost.
There'd be some good picks for sure. I actually wouldn't mind seeing. I've mentioned this game in some previous podcasts before, but I'd like to see SOCOM come back. I think more of a tactical based,
a good series.
I think I'd like to see that come back more as like a, like for a tactical military sense, like the way you could play like Arma on PC, where you really have to plan out what you're doing and you've got to take your time to get through stuff and such. I think it'd be great if we could see SOCOM come back. I mean, because in the grand scheme of shooters right now, with what Warzone has become, Call of Duty, we've got the Fortnites of the world now too, PUBG and that. It's like, let's see some real military tactic, slow crawl, build up type games like that come back as well. I think that'd be really neat.
On the flip side, I want to see something like Incredible Crisis or Katamari Damacy.
Oh my God. A Katamari game in 4K HDR. Wow. I think that would be too colorful. I think people would have seizures way too quick.
Think about the processing power too, of the console, and how much stuff you could pick up, how much stuff could be on screen at the same time. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, especially because it's like you give the graphics like the best that you can do, because Katamari really relies on a lot of those bright colors anyway, and it's not like the graphics need to be crazy good, but change the lighting and then the number of things you could pick up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay. Yeah. Let's fingers crossed that we could see something like that.
So many good IPs they could do.
So many good IPs indeed. But speaking of IPs, we got to talk about one that's been hovering around since 2013 that just doesn't ever want to seem to die.
No kidding.
Yeah, and you get to talk to us about this one. This story comes to us from The Verge, and title is Intel is using machine learning to make GTA 5 look incredibly realistic. So what in God's name are they doing with this game?
One of the more impressive aspects of Grand Theft Auto 5 is how closely the game's San Andreas approximates real-life Los Angeles and Southern California. But a new graphics machine learning project from Intel Labs called Enhancing Photorealism Enhancement might push it towards photorealism. Putting the game through the process, researcher Stephen R. Richter, Hassan Abu Al-Haji, or Haja, excuse me, sorry for butchering your name if you're listening out there, and uh, Vladlin Colton created, produces, and a surprising result, a visual look that has unmistakable similarities to the kind of photos you might casually take through the smudges of your front window of your car. You have to see it in motion to really appreciate it, but the combination of slightly washed out lighting, smooth pavement, and believably reflective cars just sells the fact that you're looking out at a real street from a real dashboard, even if it's all virtual. The Intel researchers suggest some of the photorealism comes from the data sets that they fed their neural network. The group offers a more in-depth and thorough explanation for how image enhancement actually works in their paper it's a PDF. But as I understand it, the cityscape dataset that was used built largely from Photoshop of German streets filled in a lot of the detail. It's dimmer and from a different angle, but it almost captures what I imagine a smoother, more interactive version of scrolling through Google Maps Streets View could be like. It doesn't entirely behave like it's real, but it looks very much like it's built from the real thing. The researchers say their enhancements go beyond what other photorealistic conversion processes are capable of by also integrating geometric information from GTA 5 itself. Those G buffers, as the researchers call them, can include data like distances between objects in the game and the camera, and the quality of textures like glossiness of the cars. While you may not see an official photorealism update roll out for GTA 5 tomorrow, you may have already played a game or watched a video that's benefited from another kind of machine learning or AI upscaling. The process of using machine learning is smarts to blow up graphics to higher resolution doesn't show up everywhere, but has been featured in NVIDIA Shield TV and in several different mod projects focused on upgrading the graphics of older games. In those cases, a neural network is making predictions to fill in missing pixels of details from lower resolution game, movie, or TV to reach those higher resolutions. Photorealism probably shouldn't be the only graphical goal for the video games to have. Artsy aside, it looks kind of creepy, but Intel Labs project does show that there's probably as much room to grow on the software side of things as there is in the raw GPU power of the new consoles and gaming PCs.
And I must say, I mean, watching that video, I did have it playing there while you were talking.
It's so cool.
It is interesting to actually
cool.
see. It is actually, as interesting as it is to see them doing this type of setup here, though. Anyway, I mean, it's the fact
Granted,
that
I will say there are times when it's just the GTA graphics right next to the photorealism machine learning, specifically with the bus, like it's not that far off. And it made me go, holy crap! Like the game is doing really good already, but then you add that photorealism with the machine learning, and it is very uncanny valley.
Yeah, it really, really distorts you a little bit, but at the same time, for the people who look for that realism in games, this is the dream that, of course, they ask for. This is what's looked for. I think the only thing, though, of course, that's really going to help sell it, though, is that you need to have You need to have gameplay that's more than 30 frames per second, though, I think, for it to really help. You have to really hit that 60 frame per second target. Of course, this is all just a proof of concept to be able to actually make, something like this, like at least visible and say it's like, this is what we're working on and this is what we can do with it. Now, what happens when you throw all of the computing power behind it to actually make it do just this?
Well, and you think about it, this is like almost deep fake level.
I would say, yeah,
almost
just about.
Yeah.
The only thing though where it's
you run
not
this through a computer, 4 or 5 times, compile it down real well, it's gonna look entirely real.
Well, I think the problem though is that it's like for deep fake purposes though, I think there's still enough that sticks out with this that maybe not necessarily the few loops through would actually do anything. I think where you're going to end up running into more of like I don't see where this would really sell as a deep fake thing. There's still enough that happens in here that
yeah, I fully agree, but it's almost at that level.
It's just not there.
Especially when they pull up to like a crosswalk and there's someone walking by and it's just like that's just, it looks photorealistic, but there's something about the shadows, there's something up here or there that just doesn't quite match up. Imagine 5-10 years down the line when the processing power and the actual programming get caught up with one another.
True. True. But again, I think for you to actually sell a lot of the people on that type of thing is that you really have to hit that 60 frame per second target. Otherwise, that choppiness is just going to really disassociate you. You can have the best thing looking in the world, but if that thing's choppy as hell, is it really going to be worth it? But yeah, okay. Well, that looks really cool though, and that actually is really neat to see. I really don't have anything against GTA 5. It's been out since 2013, and we haven't seen anything else from GTA except the stuff they've added to online. So
this is very true.
I'll leave it at that. Of course, as we move on, of course, to something else that's much older and is coming back though, of course, and I know is making Kyle very happy though too.
This is my week. I'm telling you what.
It really
Crazy
is.
Taxi and Jet Set Radio, of all things, one of my favorite games of all time.
And now this.
Yep.
So this story here is from Polygon. LucasArts 16-bit classic Zombie Ate My Neighbors getting modern re-release. 1993 game and its sequel coming to PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. Lucasfilm Games, Dotemu, and Limited Run Games are bringing Zombies Ate My Neighbors and its sequel Ghoul Patrol to modern platforms this summer, the companies announced Tuesday. The 16-bit games, specifically the Super NES versions, will receive new features when they come to the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Windows PC, and Xbox One on June 29th. Zombies Ate My Neighbors was originally released for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo in '93 through Konami. The top-down run-and-gun game stars Zeke and Julie as they battle zombies, vampires, Martians, mutant blobs, and other monsters across more than 50 levels of schlock, horror, sci-fi action. Ghoul Patrol brought back Zeke and Julie for more adventures the following year. Both titles will get modern features, including a quick-save system, achievements, and behind-the-scenes galleries with game art and a video interview with the original Zombies Ate My Neighbors developers. Players can enjoy both games in two-player local co-op mode. It looks like the game is going to release digitally as a bundle for $14.99 through the eShop, PlayStation Store, Xbox Game Store, Steam, and GOG.com. Limited Run Games will release physical editions of the games for select modern and legacy platforms, with details promised sometime this summer. Now, Kyle's about to go spend a butt ton of money here, just a metric ton of money, to probably buy the physical editions where it says select modern and legacy platforms. Does that mean Kyle may actually be able to score a Super Nintendo cartridge?
Or a Sega Genesis cartridge? That would be really cool. If I could, I would definitely for Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I've never played Ghoul Patrol, actually.
That's a surprise for how much you've talked about this game.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors is one of my favorite old school just shooting games. Favorite enough that 5 years ago for Halloween, my fiance and I dressed up as Zeke and Julie.
Nice.
So I mean, I'm totally for this. I'm so excited, and the fact that it's gonna have a save feature, that's really cool. They're actually pretty long games for what they were in the time, and they didn't. If I recall, they didn't have a save feature, so you
Hmm.
had to sit down for like 3 hours to actually beat the game.
Yeah, that's what Alex is saying here on Facebook. He's like, I really liked this game back in the day, but its lack of a battery save made it tough to get through. You'd lose all your stuff if you turned off the system. So that's
Yeah.
interesting that, especially for that time period, I mean, it must have just more have been like a cost thing to actually include a CR 2032 into the inside of the cartridge. There's inside of the cartridges themselves to actually allow a save. So the fact that I guess that they didn't anyway, and it was still popular as it could be. There you go. I mean, how long, Kyle, since this game didn't allow you to save? How long does this game take to beat with 50 levels and such?
Um, Shoot.
I mean, at least the original. You
I
know
don't
the
think
original.
I don't ever think I've beaten it.
Hmm.
Um, I
Okay.
know I've only probably gotten like maybe 25 levels in.
Okay.
Yeah, if
Hmm.
that, if that.
Okay.
It gets tough at some parts. But it's a fun game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one I didn't. I can't recall playing. My Super Nintendo was a big thing for me, but I don't remember this being a game that we probably had. So I will just
Well,
have to.
if it's not a remote play together, I'll bring over a Switch and we'll be able to play it.
Works for me, man. Absolutely works for me. We can work our way through some of that there too.
Heck yeah.
In the meantime, let's move on here. And I actually have an interesting anecdote to add to this next story. And we'll talk about it, of course, once the story's done. But Kyle, let's see here. Uh, yeah, it actually is your turn to talk now. So this story, also from Polygon, is not necessarily revolving in the world of video games per se, but is looking more at trading card games and what is happening in the world of trading cards, I guess, now, Kyle.
So, the reason I picked this, though, and I kind of have to preface this, is because, I mean, it's Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, Target stopped selling Pokemon cards in store, citing safety concerns.
Yep.
Target has temporarily suspended the sale of Pokemon cards and other trading cards in stores in response to reports of violent confrontations related to the collectibles whose value has soared in the past year. The new policy will go into effect Friday, but customers began seeing signs in stores this week. Aggressive Pokemon card collectors hunting for rare cards to resell have caused problems for the retailer, which already set a limit on the number of card packs a customer could buy. Frenzied shoppers still have been camping overnight at some stores, and last week a fight broke out at a Wisconsin Target over trading cards. The safety of our guests and our team is our top priority, a Target spokesperson told Polygon. Out of an abundance of caution, we've decided to temporarily suspend the sale of MLB, NFL, NBA, and Pokemon trading cards within our stores. The spokesperson said the people will still be able to purchase Pokemon cards and others at the retailer's online store. Pokemon cards have always been popular with traders, but the current uptick in the interest can certainly be called a frenzy. People are rummaging through their old collectibles in hopes of finding something valuable in exchange for cash. Rare and older cards like the special holographic Charizard can sell for upwards of $300,000 for a single card. The excitement is spread to a new cards, too. Some cards in the Shining Fates set can sell for hundreds of dollars. Stores like Targets are finding they can't keep cards on their shelves. Even the Pokemon Company announced it's reprinting cards to keep up with the very high demand. 2021 is the 25th anniversary year for Pokemon, and promotions, celebrations that date have put Pokemon cards into cereal boxes and McDonald's Happy Meals. Both promotions have been overwhelmed by collectors ripping open unsold cereal boxes and leaving Happy Meal prizes sold out nationwide. The
Yeah.
chaos is yeah. The chaos is hurting secondary industries such as card authenticators. Collectors who find rare cards typically get them graded by a company like professional sports authenticators to help them fetch top dollar at auctions. But overwhelming influx of cards led to PSA to halt grading service in April. It expects to open service back up in July. Prior to this, people filled out forms online and shipped their cards to PSA, and the company has a major backlog to work through. Our records show the Pokemon card submission have increased steadily over the past 10 years, but never more than in the past 12 months, PSA spokesperson Terry Malia told Polygon in April. For example, then 1 million Pokemon cards were submitted to PSA for grading in 2020, and already in just the first 3 months in 2021, we are on track to quadruple the amount this year.
Holy hell. I mean, the fact that, like, it was that...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. What are you saying? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to finish out the article, but I'm not certain that...
I think you already finished it.
I think so, yeah. That's just more... Yep.
Yeah, so... this is just a surprise to see. I mean, like, I see, like, every, like, 5th or 6th video I get up on TikTok is usually somebody, like, opening up a Pokemon card pack looking for one of those cards, and there's that, and live streams of people doing that stuff, too, and it's like, what the hell is driving this? And I gotta tell you, it's happening here, too, Kyle, like, actually here in our town. So, my wife, this is where I was, like, you know, it's interesting you put this on the list because I actually have something to talk about this one. So my wife does our normal grocery shop on Friday, and she normally goes to Walmart to do it. So she went over to the toy section after doing the grocery shop on that side of Walmart today to pick up some more Play-Doh for my daughter to have and play with today. As she went over there, the number of people who were swarming the restockers for Pokemon cards was obscene. I mean, my wife was telling me that like there were quite a few people there who, like, as soon as the guy was pulling the Pokemon cards out of the box and putting them up on the actual pegs on the shelves there, someone was like standing like right next to him just to pull it right off as soon as the guy put it on.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly what released or what's going on now so far outside of, like, seriously the giant frenzy that this is. But it's happening here. I know, of course, our town is not necessarily small, but I would consider this a rural America still in one way or another. It's just everybody's trying to get on that gravy train that this thing is. And the fact that PSA has finally stepped back and said, we can't do it anymore for a while. You guys are just going too fucking crazy.
Right. Well, and, you know, I've even felt the effects of it. Before the stream, we were talking about how earlier today I was playing Magic.
Right.
And Target for a while, even though that the Magic cards weren't necessarily affected by this at all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was actually at Target today, and they did have Magic cards stocked. In fact, quite a few of them with no limitation on the Magic cards. However, they have unstocked all of their Pokemon, NFL, and other trading cards. So
that's interesting because Magic cards can fetch just about the same value.
Oh, absolutely.
If not more.
I can tell you this new series is no exception. I opened, I think, 11 packs today that, you know, I buy packs throughout the week or whatever. I'll buy 1 or 2 here and there if I'm at the store, and I just save them for when I play. So I open them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that would probably fetch a pretty penny. Out of the, like, probably 50 some odd packs that I've opened out of the new series, there are some pretty unique rares that I've pulled already. And I don't know. I'm just happy that I'm not feeling the effects of this. But this is insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever as to what is going on here. I mean, like, let me, like, when you're looking at like pricing on Magic the Gathering cards, is there a specific website that you go to look at stuff if you do any of that?
I haven't actually looked in a long time. I know for Pokemon cards back in the day, I used to go to Beckett. I think I used to use Beckett for Magic cards, as well. This was like probably 15 years ago, though.
Okay. Let's see here. Just trying to see what I can find here. Okay, let's do this. Let's just go to eBay. And I'm just going to type in Pokemon cards. Oh, get out of here. Pokemon cards. Okay, I'm going to see exactly what comes up. Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like Beckett does card value still.
Yep.
And they do all sorts of cards. Sports cards. I imagine they still do Pokemon and stuff. Non-sport gaming.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look here just to see what people have. Like, I've got one here. I don't know exactly.
Beckett has listing for Magic card.
Okay.
Or Magic cards, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, like here's
the big one that they did was Pokemon back in the day and sports cards.
Okay. Yeah, like I'm trying to find any of them that are like obscenely priced. I wonder if let's see. What if I just hit rarity as ultra rare on here and see. I mean, someone here, the prices aren't actually sticking out like I thought they would be. A lot of it is not like individual card sales here. Some of it is actually like, here's a potential pack that has something possibly in there that's good. Like here's a $20 Charizard Ultra Rare Darkness Ablaze near mint for $20 when you think the booster pack that came out of was probably $4 to $5. So there is definitely a markup. And then there's here like a Scyther that was released out of the game pack in 1999 that's hollow for $32. That's the cards that we bought when we were kids. Yeah, it's just it's kind of like mixed up here where it's like I wouldn't know what to say like pricing should be on some of these things. Like I don't know.
Yeah, see, and I think probably anymore you could probably go to a few different sites to get a pretty okay like of just base price, I want to say, but to get cards evaluated you have to send them to either Beckett or like PSA or there's a few others that you can send them to, but I want to say there's only a couple that are like truly reputable that people will actually recognize. So
yeah, I decided to go ahead and go the crazy route here, and I decided to go ahead and put up auctions only and sort by the highest price. Here's like a Machamp first edition original sealed plus protective cover for $12,500 released in '99. A Charmeleon released in '99 that's put away in what appears to be a binder for $10,000. I don't know. I don't know. I don't play trading card games anymore. My kids don't really do anything with trading cards either, so it's just interesting to see that this has become such a thing now. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know.
See,
where
and
it is.
I only recently just got back into Magic here in the last like year, so.
Right. Oh, this is just so bizarre. But okay. Well, if you're into Pokemon cards, you got your Pokemon card collection still left over from when you were a kid, and you want to make yourself some quick money, there's probably someone out there who wants to buy a couple of those cards. So go and join in on the chaos, I suppose, but don't be an asshole, okay? We have to do this sometimes. Like
the one thing that's saving me, it looks like, is even from the set that came out earlier this year,
right?
The most valuable card is like $43.
That's still I mean,
Yeah.
$43, out of a booster pack that
Yeah.
might be like 5 or 6. But remember, like we need to say this, Kyle. We always have to say this. If you are going to be a person that's going to participate in this sort of thing, don't be an asshole about it.
Right.
Don't. Do what you can to join in on it. People are going to suck, but don't be an asshole about it. It's sad that we have to do a PSA on that shit. But whatever. I just don't get some people with some of these different things. Regardless, let's wrap up this week here on an interesting note instead for the week. This story actually comes to us from website PC Games N. And this is gonna be an interesting one here. A Skyrim fan has killed every single NPC and creature, so now everywhere's solitude. While Skyrim might not boast the dense, raucous crowds of other big RPG games like The Witcher 3, there's still a lot of virtual folk who call Tamriel's frostiest region home. One Skyrim fan in particular should know, as they've decided to dispatch each and every NPC and creature in the land, and it turns out the job meant multiple thousands of kills. It is finished, said Skyrim fan Jay in Skyrim on the Open World Games subreddit. 2,201 people and NPCs, plus over 2,400 more various creatures, all gone. I am alone in Skyrim. The post is accompanied with a bundle of images showing the devastation they've caused to Tamriel's populace. Winterhold, Dawnstar, Morthal, Solitude, and even Castle Volkiar. Nowhere and no one has been spared the player's ruthless rampage. Commenter Brando3141 jokes that the whole region can now be called Solitude, which, as the original poster notes, is a good one. It's difficult to judge, though, whether every single Skyrim NPC has indeed been successfully dispatched, as it's difficult finding a number to put on the total. While there are many unique named characters wandering at cities and byways, which are easy to tally, there are also a bunch of randomly generated generic folk, like soldiers and hunters, which will respawn after a time if killed. But who are we to question Jay and Skyrim's impressive feat? With more than 4.6 thousand people and creatures seen too, it's certainly hard to imagine there's a single soul left in the vast land as their images reflect. It's not the first time we've seen such determined crowd control either. Several years ago, Redditor Sachil MF posted an image of their work Geralt made of Novigrad's townsfolk. If you'd like to make some changes to Tamriel, be in a slight less final manner, be sure to look at these guys' rundown of Skyrim mods, of course. So, I mean, that's a goal to work towards, I guess.
I guess. I mean,
What do you say to that?
Is that a psychopath in the making?
my goal in life is to be able to beat Skyrim 100%, and that means killing everything.
I want quiet. Everywhere, quiet.
Then turn off the fucking game and go to bed. Okay, there might be something that says that about, like, whatever. I mean, if the person's just kind of like wandering around as just like, holding the sword and is just like slashing it at creatures and NPCs and that, then so be it. That's cool. If they're going a little bit more elaborate, like trying to set up traps or something to actually do so and taking even more pleasure in it than that, okay, then there's your psychopath rating right there.
No, I think this guy went full out Sephiroth on Nebelheim. Just burn every place to the ground.
Oh shit. Oh man, that's a good one. I like that. That makes perfect sense in this scope, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess unless there's some way to actually get into the netcode and look and see like what NPCs are spawned up in there to actually get a count and get some sort of like dead or alive type status. I think it'd be kind of tough to actually figure it out. So I definitely would err on the side of, being cautiously optimistic that the person actually did this. But
the way I figure it is it's got to be named NPCs and specific enemies. Because the specifically generated enemies and named NPCs, there's always a finite number in the world.
Right.
So I would imagine that's probably how he got it.
Okay. Yeah, it's very, very possible in that one. I don't know, though. Maybe. I mean, maybe he's killed every bird and every fox and every wolf and every every other animal that exists in there, and I don't know. All I imagine though is because I don't think bodies despawn, do they? I think bodies stay in
No.
there.
Yeah. Which means after wandering around your little solitude, you might need to go get your head checked.
Yeah, especially
Because
if
there's gonna be a lot of corpses.
yeah, not only with the corpses, but I imagine that this is the guy who probably has none of the music going on and just leaves the actual like background noise of the world going
Oh
too.
yeah.
Okay, you're right. This person's a psychopath. This person is has a problem. And on that very awkward note, we're gonna wrap it up for this week. If you guys missed it, of course, we have a new episode of the Open Critic Weekly Recap up over on their page, opencritic.com. So please make sure to go listen to that. We talk about a whole bunch of the news that we didn't cover this week, especially the PlayStation VR 2 and some new interesting features about that as well. So please make sure to go listen to that, because not only does it help us out over on that side, it also helps out here on the NPCs as well. Of course, with that, thanks everybody for checking us out tonight. We'll have a new podcast up for you, of course, this next week. We will have the news podcast, of course, published too, once I can finally download the audio, once the whole VOD is uploaded in that. And, of course, you know where to find us. Facebook, YouTube, anchor.fm/the-NPCs-podcast. I think everything's good. Kyle, thanks, as always, man, for being here. I mean, it's really just you and I, so this is our job now. And, of course, for everybody that's tuned in, thank you so much for hanging out with us as well. We'll catch you guys all next week.
Laters.